Assalamu alaikum, this is Safiya Ravat again with the Ideal Muslimah talking about Ramadan reminders. And today we want to talk about what kind of worship can a woman do while she's menstruating or during postpartum bleeding. So we all know a woman can't fast and a woman can't pray when she is on her menses or postpartum bleeding. However, are there any other actions that she can do? And the scholars did deliberate on these different issues. The first one being, can she read the Quran? So many scholars will say that a woman cannot read the Quran while she is on her menses. However, scholars like Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, as well as many other scholars, say that actually there is no solid evidence that a woman is not allowed to read the Quran while she's on her menses. There is a da'if hadith, and this hadith is considered da'if by a majority of the scholars of hadith, which says that neither the menstruating woman or the one who is in a state of janaba or sexual impurity after intercourse and they haven't made ghusl, that these two people cannot recite the Quran. Again, this hadith is considered da'if by a majority of the scholars of hadith, and therefore it doesn't hold enough weight to make a fiqh ruling for it. So a woman is permitted to read the Quran even if she's on her menses or during postpartum bleeding. Number two, can a woman touch the actual Quran? It is pretty much unanimous from all of the scholars that a woman is not allowed to touch the Quran during menses or postpartum bleeding. And that goes back to the ayah in the Quran where Allah says, and none may touch it except for the purified. So that means that no one is allowed to touch the Quran, whether it is the person without wudu, or the person in a state of ritual impurity or sexual impurity, the junub, and included in that is the woman during her menses. No one is allowed to touch the Quran until they have purified themselves either by ghusl or by wudu. What can a woman do in that case? If she wants to recite the Quran, she can hold the Quran with a barrier between her hands and the mushaf. So she would put gloves on, or she could put a towel between her hands and the mushaf itself, or she can use a pen to move from page to page. Another way around this, the scholars have agreed that if she were to hold an iPad or a phone which contains the Quran on it, this is not considered the mushaf itself. This is not considered the actual Quran. This is just a device on which the Quran is read, and it is permissible for her to touch the iPad and touch the phone in that case. So she can read the Quran from the iPad, from the iPhone, whatever it may be. She just shouldn't touch the actual Quran itself. In addition to that, scholars have said that books of tafsir, which include both Quran and English tafsir or English translation or in a different language, those are permitted for a woman to touch during her menses because it is, again, not considered the actual mushaf. It is considered a book of tafsir or a book of translation. If you have any more questions, you can ask it in the comments below. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.